Hey guys, ready for another video here with me? Thanks for coming. I'm ready to show you two more collages, two more abstract landscape collages that I made for you to see. As you saw in my last video, I'm really into abstract landscapes. I hope you like that because that's what I have in store for you today. Another fun collage session. And yeah, this was the artwork that I made on my previous video. I'm really happy with it. And please, if you hear some noises on the background, just ignore them. My daughter and husband are playing in the garden and they make a lot of noise. So just bear with me here, please. There they are laughing and I don't want to spoil their fun. So here just to recapitulate, if that's a word, of what I did. I used these prints that I had previously made on my gel plate. They were already abstract landscapes in the making. I loved them already, but I thought they were too poor, so I wanted to add to them. I made it with these masking papers that I ripped from magazines, and it worked pretty well. I used them in my previous video for that landscape that I did because nothing gets to waste here in this channel. So if you're curious how to use those, please make sure to see my previous video. I will link it on the description for you guys. As always, every video that I mention on my videos are linked on the descriptions, and if they're not and you want to see them, please just leave me a comment and I'll do so for you guys. There's also a little bit of footage in here of how I made some of the papers that I'm going to use in these collages today, or at least that I meant on using, because I'm not sure yet of what I'm going to use. I have a slight idea of the color palette that I want to go for, but as always, I only made up my mind when I'm right there doing it, you know. Making these papers was a lot of fun, as always is with my gel plate. I love gel plate sessions, and if you also like that, I've got a lot of shorts about them and other videos. Please check them out. And I intend to do a lot more of this in the future. And just look at those juicy textures. Can't get enough of them. So these are my choices of papers for today. I'll be choosing between these guys on which to use on the two collages that I'm gonna make today. Some of these papers I didn't even like too much when I made them, and some of them I even considered unfinished, but sometimes that is just perfect for what I need, and I just figure that out right in the moment when I'm creating it, you know, when I'm making the collage, not when I'm making the paper. And of course, the ones that I won't use today will be waiting for their moment to shine, and that will come, I'm sure of it. And there we go to the collage itself. I chose my first paper to rip and use on my collages. It is this beautiful blue textured paper. I don't even remember how I did this one, but it has such a lovely rough texture, you know, it's very rich. I love it, and I will use it a lot on this piece. And it's right now where the image of the whole work will start to appear in my mind. It will start to form itself in my mind. I just look at my papers and I rip them, and then I place them on top of the base layer and try and figure out where it looks best. And that's really fun for me. I don't know about you, but I love this part of this process. I would love to hear your thoughts on the comments. Please share them with me. Let's start this beautiful community of artists, you know, sharing their process with each other, sharing their thoughts. We can all learn so much together. So if you want to make part of that community with me, I'd be honored to have you. Just leave me a comment, okay? And you can see that some parts of this paper are lighter than others, so I get all these different values in here that provide depth to the piece, and that's really great. In the end, I'll combine other techniques to bring it all together, but I'm really happy with just the collage, you know. I could live with it. I could frame it and put it on my wall just as a collage without no other techniques added to it. But as always, I always try to push it a little bit further. Sometimes I overwork it. It's really hard to know when to stop. But if you don't push it, sometimes you just don't get that extra, that you need to make it perfect. But right now, I'm really focused on just building my composition with these pieces of paper glued together. See, I could just frame that. It's beautiful looking for me. So I put it aside and started working on the next one. I'm still using the same papers, that same blue textures that I used on the other one because I think they go really well in this one also. They have a little bit of pink in there too that calls out for these reds on this base layer, and the blues go well with the blues and grays that you see in there. So I think it's a good addition here also. And don't worry, they are not going to look the same. They go together real well in the end because they came from the same mood, let's call it like that. But they will be pretty different from one another. I'll be adding some different papers to this one, and I'm looking for them now. I don't know yet which one that I'm going with. And then I started looking on the other papers that I had left and didn't think before of using in this piece. But hey, I was desperate to look for something that worked here, so I didn't want to limit my choices. So I ended up choosing this red one. It's kind of a brownish red one that goes perfectly with the red showing through on my base layer, and it has these dots that remind me of an octopus. The arms of the octopus have those round things that kind of reminds me of that, and even the color. And then I add this other pattern on the top of my piece that resembles some scales of a fish or something. So although this has a lot of red in it, it reminds me of an underwater landscape. I didn't thought of that before. That just came to me while I was making it. Because sometimes your brain works like that. Sometimes you don't have a clear idea before of what you want to do. But when you start making, they say that inspiration finds you working. That's kind of it. When you start using your hands to make stuff, your brain starts to work and your creative spirit really comes alive in those times, That's a good lesson. If you don't feel inspired, just start making something. Inspiration will come and it will find you doing something. Because if you're not there, well, she can't find you, now can she? That's as simple as that. And there I go with some other papers, also in that reddish tone. So this one, you're figuring out already, it's gonna have a lot of more red than the other one. The other one was all just really dark and with those dark blues and grayish blackish tones. This piece is much lighter, and I think these two tones, these dark blues and this red kind of browny red, orangey, I don't know how to call it, they really go good together. And also this kind of grayish paper that I'm using with this scales pattern, that really complements the piece very well, in my opinion. And right now, I'm not sure about how I'm going to finish this piece yet, but I know that will come in time, I just hope, as for the other one, that I don't overwork it. That's my only concern. Another bit of texture, and there you go. I'm not sure if I like it one way up or the other way, so I'm flipping it so that I can figure out. And so far, that's how my two pieces are looking. And now I'm getting into the third part of this process. The first one being the prints of the base layer, then the second with the collage, and the third one will be drawing and painting on top of these pieces. This is quite a complex a mixed media process because it has lots of parts. They weren't done in just one day, one sitting, And all of these parts were really enjoyable. For this part, I wasn't quite sure yet of what I wanted to do. In fact, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how or with what. So first, I grabbed these crayons, these big boys. They are some Crolando 3-in-1 colored pencils, but in fact they resemble a lot like woodies. If you're familiar with Stabilo woodies, which are the most famous of this type, I'm guessing, well, these ones are kind of that, but from Crolando. So they go on top of everything really, like the woodies, and they were soluble. So first I tried increasing my color richness of this blue piece using them and watering them with a water brush. I based myself on the previous color palette for that piece. So I used a little bit of black and dark blue, and I used the red and the purple. I had also my oil pastels in there, but I didn't use it yet because I still wasn't sure if I wanted to use them. So I put this piece aside for a while and went on to the next one. As you saw throughout this video, I did this all along. I worked in both pieces at the same time. That's why they're so linked together. At first, I wasn't meaning on doing so, but they become linked together. So they are a pair, they are a mini series on themselves. This one is much more reddish, as you know. So I went with the red pencil and watered it like I did on the other piece. I used the dark blue to reinforce some details to get more layers in there. I used the purple also. I was looking for contrast and building layers and my depth in these pieces. And by doing that, I meant to get more richness in the values, But I wasn't happy still. I show you here some of the details already, but I knew I had to do something more because I wasn't fully happy with it still. I didn't know yet what to do. Then I saw an eye in this bit of the blue piece, and I said to myself, well, let's embrace it. I was meaning to go fully abstract with these ones, but I don't want to anymore. I see an eye in here, so I'm gonna make a sea creature. Some kind of a sea creature. And that's what I did. I grabbed my black gel pen and I started to reinforce some of these shapes that I was seeing in this abstract piece. That's when these creatures came alive. Then I was scared to do this, I must tell you, but I did it anyway. Well, I just started out with a little bit of one of my oil pastels from Van Gogh, which is kind of a metallic white, a shimmery transparent white, let's call it like that. And I tried it a little bit to see what it might add to the piece. And it added some shimmer, some lightness, and because it is transparent, I could still see the textures underneath. Because in fact, what I didn't want to do here is to lose the texture underneath, because my base layer prints were so rich in texture and I loved it so much that I didn't want to cover it totally, Also, the papers that I glued on top of it had a lot of texture, and I also didn't want to lose that. In fact, what you see me doing here with the gel pen is reinforcing that texture. So I was quite happy with this oil pastel, and I will use it more on both of the pieces. On this red piece, I wanted to stay a little bit more abstract because in the blue one you just saw me creating a lot of fish-like creatures. Although they are imaginary, they resemble like fish, so they're not so abstract per se. In this one, I tried to stay more abstract, although I wanted to make a link between the two of them, so I didn't want to go fully abstract. So I created a net there that was coming through a little bit from the underneath layers, and I wanted to embrace that like a fishing net. And then I will create one or two fish-like creatures also in this one. And of course, you remember that pattern on that red papers resembled a lot like octopus marks. It says sea creature all over it, so it's right there. Then on this one, I wanted to use more of the oil pastels. But for that, I had to try out my colors first to see if they would go well with the colors that I had already on this piece. Once more, my goal was to increase value and the range of colors, the depth in the piece. And I wanted to enlarge my color palette, but in the same shades, you know, not a real big range of colors. So I choose a few. You see the ones that are standing out from my oil pastels box are the ones that I'm going with, and I started layering them on the paper. At first I wanted to reinforce that pattern from the octopus. I used orange, red, brown, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a darker color, maybe a darker brown or even a black. I guess we'll see in a minute, because right now I don't remember, because as you might notice, I'm recording myself talk while I rewatch the video, so I don't remember every detail of what I did in here. But yeah, you see me using a lot of color. Sometimes I go with a little color and I smush it with my finger to give it some more of a smooth effect. And sometimes I just leave it like that with the rough texture that I get from the oil pastels. And I embrace these two techniques in this piece. I don't know if you noticed, but I also used the transparent white one that I used in the blue piece also, but not so much in this one. And there they are, they're both finished now. I took a closer look at them to see if I wanted to add something more or if I was quite happy with it. I signed them already. And yeah, I was pretty happy with them. I still am. I'm really proud of these two works, these two pieces. I'll be making prints of them in A3, A4, A5, and A6 sizes. If you're interested in buying one of them, as usual, you just have to send me an email. I'll have the email on the description and in here also on the screen for you to see. And just send me an email also if you want more info on these pieces. I'm really proud of what I just made. Look at this. This is the blue piece that I just finished, and this one is the red. I'm really proud of them. I call them my mini underwater series, and my favorite one, well, it's hard to tell because I love them both, but maybe the blue one. I just love how these creatures just came alive in here. But this one is also quite lovely. What do you think? Which one is your favorite? Please tell me in the comments. So here I am finishing editing the video for you guys. I hope you liked it. Please, if you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and hit the bell so you don't miss my next ones. I have a lot of different projects coming up and I'm gonna share them with you. You know that I love doing a lot of different stuff, so it's not all about collage over here. Yeah, so stay tuned for that and share this with your friends too. It would help my channel a lot. So I'm gonna go now, and until my next one, bye-bye.